Hello everybody, my name is Khaled Siddiqui, and about a year ago I made a video on how to replace the battery on these little Kindles, Amazon Kindle. And today I'm going to teach you how to replace the screen. Yep, it's a little involved. It is pretty simple, average person can do it. However, it's not as simple as the battery. It requires more taking apart and going deeper. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so this is our unit. As you can see, this is Amazon Kindle. The model number, oh, my eyes are not very good. D00901. That's the model number. I had to use a magnifying glass. So, and we are trying to basically replace the battery, and here's how we do it. Let's start. I mean, replace the screen. We already know how to replace the battery in the previous video. So again, you put this to the corner and slightly left. Put it to the corner, slightly left, very gently. Don't let the knife or any prying device go too deep. This is the amount of depth you can go, like barely. You can use a guitar pick or anything. Once you are in there with your nails, you can lift it up. See how it comes off? Look at that, like that. So basically it's nothing, there are no screws, there's simply these little hooks. As you can see, these little hooks are indentations that go attached to those hooks. So basically these indentations, look at the locations of each one. It gives you an idea where to pry. That's all. Some people do it this way. This is also an idea. They use a suction cup in the middle and lift it. But you have to have a good, powerful enough suction cup, like this, for example, like that, a powerful enough suction cup, and then you lift it like that. That's another way of doing it. Okay, so it's pretty. I mean, the suction cups are pretty good. See, it's not like easily letting go, basically. So that's another way of opening it. Okay. So the battery, these two screws, boom, and you got a new battery. We have to get rid of, take the battery out of the way in order to get deeper into this thing. So I'm gonna have to open that battery, even though I don't need to replace it, but I still have to get it out of my way. Okay, so we are removing the battery. Just two screws to remove the battery. Just two screws. That's all there is in it. And voila, this is my battery. These little thingies, these guys, they go right above the battery, right there. So they go right there when you put it back in. Let me show it to you from a different angle. Let me zoom in a little bit. This thing needs to be zoomed in. There. So those were the little things that I removed. Okay. Now, because these will fall, I'm gonna take them out and put them aside. I'll put these aside. Okay, because they will fall. Now, what do? What's next? Now we have to get to the screen. In order to get to the screen, we have to remove the main board. And each part is very, how should I say, delicate, very delicate. You have to be very careful. The first thing we need to undo or disassemble is the speaker, because it's simple. See that little red and black wire? So that wire right there is a speaker wire, okay? And what we want to do is we want to unplug it. You can unplug it using a little needle or something, but you have to make sure not to pull it from the wire, because you will break it. Okay? There. So I use a little needle to push the connector so that I don't actually pull on the wire itself, because the wire will break. So needle, and then you push it out like that with a little needle. Okay, so Now, these are little holders that holds the cable. Okay. Now you have screws. Again, you have Phillips screws to open. These are the speaker screws. Okay. Okay, so after I took out these two screws, these were the two screws. The speakers are held by two screws only. And after I took out these two screws, now all I have to do is put a knife or any prying object, a guitar pick, anything, and lift the speaker up. The speaker is just glued. It's just glued here. This is just glued, nothing else. Two screws and then glue. Gluing mechanism. We put the speaker aside. Now we have more screws to open. Our next screw, device will be this item right there. Need a bigger Phillips. No, you have to make sure you have the right size Phillips, otherwise you will damage the threadings. You will damage the threadings, so you have to have the. Let me go from an angle so you can see better. Okay, so these, make sure to mark each screws. Now since these are all the same size, I don't have to worry. Otherwise you have to make sure to write which is which. Otherwise what happens is that you will be left with screws that you don't know where they go to. So since the speaker and this guy are taking the same size screw, I don't need to worry. Okay, let's see. Now, if you lift this, you see that there are more screws. This is attached to the main board. This guy is attached to the main board. It's soldered. So you have to open these little clips. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 that I can see right now. If I come across more, I'll let you know. But I have 4 little clips that needs to be opened. This is the actual screen cable. It's very, very important to not to mess with it, or not to break it, I should say. This one. The way you open this is like this. You just open it like that. You put your finger and lift it, and it opens. Basically, this plugs into that, and that's how you open it. You could put a little needle, lift it. You could use a little knife to lift it, or your nails if your nails are long enough. These little screws, the clips or tabs, need to be pulled up for the cable to be released. So you have to pull it up. These little tabs are for these buttons. Okay. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see better. Let's see how much I can zoom in. This camera is good for zooming in. Okay. So you see that little tab right there? I'm gonna lift it up. There, I lift it up. Now I can pull this cable like this. So you do need a needle there. I pulled the cable. You saw how I pulled it, right? Now I will turn this around, and I have another one right there. That's the switches on that side. Pull this up. Pull it up. Just like that. See how I pulled it up, and lift the cable out, and there is my second cable. Okay, now we have one more, and that one is right here. This one you lift up this way, and you disengage the cable, just like that. Okay, now we have to open more screws. We have more screws to open. Let's get started and open some screws. All right. Okay. So where are the screws? We have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 that I can see. There could be more. Let's start. These are smaller screws, so store them separately. Very, very small screw. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a little white paper so that I don't lose them. I'm gonna put them in a little you should use a container or a white paper. I'm using a white paper so I don't lose them. So that goes there. And when you open these screws, apply pressure on the screw, otherwise you will strip the screw. Okay. Okay, so far so good. Let's go to this camera so you can see where I'm working. This is the screw I'm working on. Make sure your screws are magnetized. If not, you can just rub it to a magnet and it becomes magnetized. Okay. That one was easy. It wasn't even tight. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? Okay, this guy. We have this guy to open. These are different screws, so make sure to put everything in the appropriate manner. Okay, let's see. The most critical thing is not to lose the screws, because if you lose the screws, that's it. This, I believe, was my last screw. This was the last screw, I believe, but let's find out. Yeah, that is absolutely true. That was indeed the last screw. And this is my main board, which is now disengaged. As you can see, it's all disengaged. And I've set it aside. I will set it aside. And my screen is on the other side of this. That's where my screen is. And this is the screen cable. That's the keyboard cable. These are the cables you need to know. Keyboard cable, screen cable, switch cable, and all that. You need to know which cable is which. Okay, to get to the screen, we have to open these additional screws, okay? These additional screws. Let's go to the side, zoom out a little bit. Okay. This is the one I'm opening. And another one. Okay, let's see. We have more. We have a lot more. Okay, we have this guy. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, this is a different size. Yeah, this one is a different size. I was gonna say these are not the same size. I wasn't sure, but yeah, I see for a fact they're different sizes. So you need to pay attention on these little screws. Each one is a different size. Okay, so that's it. Now this is our screen, which needs to be replaced. Okay, now the screen. Let's disengage the screen. Okay, so this whole screen is simply glued on the side to the frame. So you have to gently lift it, like with your what I was gonna use is a cord and just slide it all around, but I was gonna do it this way so that I don't damage the screen. Because it's glued to the frame. There you go. So now it's very gentle, not to break it, okay? Not to break it, because even though this is a dead screen, but if you break it, then you know you have a lot of pieces of glass and all that. So basically, as you noticed, there is glue all right here. It's like glue. See how it sticks to my hand? And that glue is what's holding the screen in place. That's all it is. It's glue. Okay? Okay, so this is our replacement screen. You put the replacement screen in place. Now you would probably ask, where do I buy the replacement screen? It's hard to find the replacement screen, so what you need to do is you need to buy a used broken one from eBay and take the screen out of it, because these are discontinued models and you can't find spare parts for them. But if you want to look for this replacement screen, the part number, I'm going to read the part number for you. Actually, let me zoom into the part number, and that is the part number you need. So read that part number. Now that camera is having a hard time focusing. It's such a small font. Let's see. See what can I do to have it focused. There you go. It's E as in Edward, D as in dog, 060SC7LF. So yeah, you could pause the video. That's the part number for the screen. If you're lucky, you might find it. But normally the only way to get it is to get it from, used from eBay. Okay, this is the keyboard, goes back in there. This is actually the keyboard padding. The actual keyboard is on this. This is the keyboard. Okay, so that you know. So that goes back in place. This goes back in place. Like I say, there is no other fitting but the glue for the screen to be seated there. And then once it's seated there, what you do is you hold it using the screws that are on this guy. The screws that are on this guy. Okay. All right. So when you're putting this back, make sure this button goes through this opening. There's an opening for it. Make sure it goes through that opening nice and easily. And voila, we are good to go there. Now we will put this screw back in. We need to get the right tool. Okay, and we need another one for the second. And there you go. That's the second one. Now the smaller screws. Whoa, these are so small that you can't even hold them in your hand. There, the smaller screws went in there. And there are a lot of holes here for screws, but you have to know which one you will put first, which one you'll put after you put this. See, it's because a lot of these will be filled up once you put this. So those are the screws. These holes shouldn't be, you shouldn't put any screws there, because this is what goes there first and then the screw. But this guy right here can take a screw right now. So you take a screw and just put it there. Now the screws are very small and they're playing hide and seek with you, so be careful. Excuse my dirty nails. You have to have long nails, and when you're like a car mechanic or computer mechanic, it's hard to keep up your nail hygiene, because you have to, let's see, I magnetized my screw and finally I was able to put this in place. Okay, so everything looks good. Let me see. This one requires a screw. Okay, so all the screws are in that are required before you put this in, and the rest of the screws will be put after this is in. Here's a little tricky part. When I'm putting this in, I have to make sure this matches this. This on-off switch right here matches this guy. See that little thingy? See how it goes down? This should be pushing it down like this. Like that, okay? Alright, so let's put that puppy in. And also make sure to have all the holes matching, like the speaker hole. I'm talking about these. Make sure they all are matching to match the right place, so it's fully aligned. Now everything seems to be fully aligned. It's time to put these screws. Okay, let's put those screws. There's a whole bunch of screws. That was this one. Let's see. The screw. Okay. I'm gonna put 3 screws here to make my life easier instead of grabbing one at a time. Three more screws left. Oh my God. Okay, 2 more screws left. The tiny ones, the motherboard screws. Otherwise, I have more screws. And 1 more screw left. Okay, so here we have a problem already. We have a problem. And you know what the problem is? These cables, they need to be pulled out. They went inside. So I have to loosen the screw to get my cable out. These are the real life problems that you come across when you're least expecting it. Okay, so I have to open these screws, a couple more, to lift up the board, lift up a little bit the board, and pull the cable out. This cable has to be on the top side of the board, not at the bottom side of the board. There. So I rescued that cable. Same thing on this side. The cable has gone under the motherboard and it shouldn't. Okay. See, these are the things that I'm glad I ran into it, because you could have run into it and you would like, oh, what happened? Where did my cable go? You know, you would be saying, where did my cable go? When in reality your cable went underneath your motherboard. There. So we have this out, this is out, this is out, that's out. All our cables are out. These are the ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, nothing is under the motherboard now. We can easily retighten the motherboard. Each cable plays a role, and those cables that were trapped inside were actually the button cables, the push buttons. They were cables going to these push buttons. So basically these wouldn't have worked. Yeah, these wouldn't have worked if it wouldn't have been plugged in. Okay, to put it back in place, you need a long nose plier like this, like a long nose plier. You could probably do it with a needle, but it's much easier with a long nose plier. You push it back in. Let me do another angle from that. Very, very critical. This one is very critical. So watch. This is out, and we want to push this in, and then use a needle to push it in all the way from those little holes, pushed all the way in, and then as it is pushed in, let me use a flat screwdriver. As it is pushed in, you close this like that. I closed this tab as that was pushed in. I will do the same on this side. So the tab is open. I push in my cable. Let me get bigger glasses. See how it's pushed in? And I lock it. Push in and then lock. These are the hardest. The rest is not that hard. Like this one is simple. Let me show you the rest. It's so simple, the rest. Okay. See this one? This right here? You just snap it to that. Like that. Simple snap. And we have this one. We have to go this way and push it in. Okay. There. That's the keyboard one. If this wouldn't have been plugged in, the keyboard, alphanumeric keyboard wouldn't have worked. So that's in, that's in. Now we have to put back our other hardware. We still have plenty of hardware to put. We put this guy. Okay. Now let's see what else we forgot. We forgot these 4. We have to put those, 3. You have to have lots of patience, lots of patience. This is not a business for the impatient. There. We have 2 more screws and a speaker. We put back our speaker. You fish the wires through those. Let's do it from this one. You have to fish the wire through those things. Zoom out a little bit. And then plug in this guy. There. It's plugged in. But you have 2 screws to put. 2 screws to put. You put this one right here, and this one goes right here, and the 2 corners. This corner and that corner, and the screw, the speaker also is glued. Most of the items are glued. Now remember, we had to put these guys for the battery. This is our battery. This edge goes in first, and the top you just screw. Simple as that. Just as simple. The battery is completely discharged, so I'm gonna have to leave it for a couple hours. There. Okay, I have no more screws left. Absolutely. The operation was successful. Let me zoom out so you can see. Let's zoom out. There. No more screws left. Nothing. These, the ones with a hole, these 2 goes to the speakers, and the other side goes there. And you simply snap it back in. Let me zoom in. This side isn't snapped in yet, so we have to see what's up. There you go. Now it's all snapped in. It's all nice and flush. And we've got a brand new screen. Obviously it's not charged, so it's not gonna work, but you know, at least now you know how to replace the screen, not just the battery, but the screen on these units. All right, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe.